What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? Once again, Stephen Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. Hey, guys, listen up. If you are new to my channel, maybe this is the first time you have visited my channel. Maybe you've been here for a couple of videos now. Guys, if you do me a huge favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys. That subscribe button and being subscribed to the channel does a whole lot for us. It's greatly appreciated when you guys do that. And number two, to all my OGs, if y'all can do me a favor, guys, hit that like button. That like button is what communicates with YouTube and lets YouTube know to push this content out on the platform to other people so we can grow the channel. All right, guys. So, kind of an awkward conversation today. I've had some Cowboy fans who have asked me, Steve, would you maybe address the recent coaching search of the Dallas Cowboys and the decision to hire Mike McCarthy and what you think? Because this is the offseason, I couldn't do it while we were still in playoff contention, guys. Like, I kind of had to focus on what the Eagles were doing. So it was a little hard to do that. But since we have fallen out of playoff contention, and since this does impact the Eagles, I'll absolutely give you guys what I know about Mike McCarthy and what I think, because there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to these hiring decisions, guys. I'll give you what I think is going to happen from an organizational standpoint with the Cowboys. So let's jump into it, fellas.
And this feels like sort of Mike McCarthy, a really safe hire.
Okay, guys, if you're not familiar with Mike McCarthy, let me just walk you through this guy's coaching tree, what he's come out of, what type of system he kind of runs, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty here. So to begin with, I know that he's from the Pittsburgh area, okay? I don't know if he played at Pittsburgh. I know he coached there for a little while. Following that, he ended up making his way to the NFL. He was like an offensive quality assurance kind of coaching personnel with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then later on became the quarterbacks coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, which was the first significant position he had. And he kind of mentored and groomed people like Rich Gannon, Elvis Grbac, Steve Bono, some very 1990s quarterbacks. If you guys don't know much, if you're younger and you don't know much about the 90s, he comes out of this coaching tree from a pretty underrated coach. He comes from the Marty Schottenheimer coaching tree. Now, Marty Schottenheimer's name has a little stigma to it because they called Marty's system, it's called Marty Ball, but they used to call it the run, pass, punt. So run, pass, punt system. The bottom line is while Marty I don't think he ever coached in a Super Bowl, he was very good at developing talent. He was very good at taking teams that really weren't supposed to be that good and making them overachieve. He was definitely a strict disciplinarian guy, very conservative system. Well, following Marty Schottenheimer's decision to basically retire at that time, leave football for that time, he comes back later on. But that left kind of that coaching staff in limbo. Well, while it was in limbo, Mike McCarthy ended up at Lambeau. Okay, he spent a season or two, I want to say, with the Green Bay Packers at that point. That was the first time he was with Green Bay. He goes there as the offensive coordinator, I want to say, and he spends a year or two there, and then Green Bay ends up firing its coaching staff. So he leaves at that point. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't fire the coaching staff. I don't remember the exact timeline to this stuff, guys, 100%. But nonetheless, he leaves there after really doing great work with Brett Favre. I mean, he really made an impact as a quarterback coach with Brett Favre that season. So he leaves that, gets an offensive coordinator position with the New Orleans Saints. Spends quite a few years there with the Saints. Most of the early 2000s, he was the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. I'm thinking back to back when they had, what was that guy's name? Aaron Brooks, I think, was the quarterback back then. I mean, this was a long time ago, guys. It's hard to remember some of these guys. But he was a fairly decent coordinator. After that, he ends up doing a stint with San Francisco. He was not quite as successful with San Francisco, but in terms of the record was not impressive while he was there with the 49ers staff. But he did do a fairly good job there with Alex Smith. He did a really good job there with, I believe he had Gore. I want to say, I think Gore was his running back, and I mean he has developed running backs over the years. So this guy is definitely a guy who can coach uh, quarterbacks, and he does really good with developing running backs too. The one strength I will say that you guys are going to get in Mike McCarthy is he's a very good personnel man. He makes solid, fundamental decisions over the roster. He knows how to identify talent. That he's very strong in. Now, a lot of the criticism you're going to hear about this man is that when you're in the league for 13 years calling plays, guys, you tend to get vanilla over time. Like it's hard to, you know what I mean? It's hard to stay ahead of the curve for that length of time. So obviously, towards his end of his tenure as the Green Bay Packers head coach, he ended up essentially regressing in his ability to call plays. And that's where you're going to get a lot of pushback. That's where you're going to get some people who will become very concerned that how much of an upgrade is he over Jason Garrett? I'm going to say it's a significant upgrade over Jason Garrett because he's just a much better administrator than Jason Garrett is. Also, while don't be wrong, I'm sorry, not Jason Garrett, but while his scheme, Mike McCarthy's scheme, kind of vanillaed out, the one thing I will say is he was nowhere near as predictable as Jason Garrett was. He wasn't that vanilla in his play calling. He still used emotion. Like he still did things to basically play to matchups. He didn't just say, "This is our system. This is the system we're running," and that's it. With that said, there are some things that are easily identifiable about his system, and we'll get into that now.
Jamal Williams is the running back, and the first carry of the game belongs to him for.
The obvious elephant in the room here is that Mike McCarthy had a huge falling out with Aaron Rodgers that split the organization, and Aaron Rodgers was not a fan of the system. This is what I will say. It seemed like Aaron Rodgers swayed the play calling in 2018 because when you compare it to other seasons, they were way more pass happy that season compared to other seasons. So, hard to say. This is what I will say. You look at Mike McCarthy, this is a predominantly 11-man personnel play caller. He's going to run his offense predominantly out of 11-man. Most of the NFL does, but he does have some wrinkles to the way that he utilizes it. And the first thing I will tell you is pay close attention to the tight end in the motioning and shifting of players. He uses a lot of motion, a lot of movement to see the defense. It gives the quarterback a chance to identify the coverage scheme, and also, it gives you favorable matchups to where you want to go. Also, pay attention to where the tight end is. He will move the tight end in line, in the wing, split out, in the slot. He moves his tight ends all over the place. So that would be the next thing I tell you. So in this first play, I'm going to run it again, but I'm going to give you a look before the snap. Watch the motion and then pay attention to where number 80 is. Number 80 is Jimmy Grant. It's their tight end. So then watch Geronimo Allison get moved over. He's going to be the motioning person.
Injuries up front, and that derailed the season. They wound up 7-9. Jamal.
You can see there, it's 11-man personnel. They come out in a trip set. They give you a little motion, check that defense. Then they move Geronimo Allison, he's a bigger physical guy, over to that wing positioning, just on the outside hip of Jimmy Graham. And then they basically run looks like to me maybe a 4 or 6 hole little run there. It looks like to me it's between the guard and tackle. Probably more of a 4 hole there. But simple movement, Marty Schottenheimer type theme, run, pass. But you see, there's a lot of shifting, a lot of movement. It's not quite as vanilla as Jason Garrett, to where he was just like, if I'm going to get fired, I'm going to get fired the way I like to coach, and I don't buy into all this bullshit about moving and having guys motion in and out. It just it doesn't do as much as people think. He was wrong. He's giving your quarterback a chance to diagnose what the hell's going on with the defense. But that side of it is going to change. Now I'm going to get into, and I'm going to pay attention to the tight end. I'm going to show you another way that they're utilizing 11-man. This time, it's a little different.
Limited tonight, maybe 20, 25 snaps we would figure, as Jamal Williams breaks it.
They change it up on you a little bit there. It's still 11-man. It's still 3 receivers, a tight end, and a running back, okay? They spread you out. You got a 2-by-2 set, so you got Up at your offensive left at the top of the screen, all the way to the top, you got pretty much your tight end, Jimmy Graham, who's kind of in a slot type positioning. He's off the line of scrimmage about a yard or so. Next to him, you got a guy that's on the line of scrimmage. I can take a look. Maybe I put it in my notes, guys. I'm not sure. Let me see. So, yeah, Devontae Adams is your X there on the left. And then if you go to the bottom of your screen where you have those other 2x2 set, basically what you have there is Randall Cobb, who is on the line of scrimmage. So he's the other guy that's on the line of scrimmage, giving you that 7 men on the line of scrimmage. And then you have Geronimo Allison, who's kind of in the Y receiver position and on the bottom right. So far as you can go to the offensive right there. They spread you out and they run basically a little 5-hole on you, right? They go to the right on you. So, I mean, it's the way that they do things, guys. Or maybe I might have that backwards, guys. My bad. Maybe they run a 6-hole. I don't know. I'd have to look at it again, guys. But nonetheless, that's how they operate, man. You can see the Marty Schottenheimer influence there. Run, pass, punt. Just joking. But it is a run, pass. And look, this is the modern NFL, so you're not going to be that predictable that every time you caught in a game, it's going to be run, pass. Like, they're not going to be that predictable. But you will see the tendencies for him to play Marty ball. He will go run, pass on you. That is going to happen. And there were times where if you go back to like 2017, the pass to run ratio with Mike McCarthy was like 52%. Pass to 48% run. It's almost a 50-50 mix, guys. I mean, he does have tendencies at times to really mix up how often he's running and passing. I mean, he can be very balanced in that matter. Now, I want to give you guys a little more hint to how they utilize, because there's still some things in here. So I'm going to keep giving you guys examples of how he's utilizing his 11-man and how he likes to attack teams.
Flushed out. Of course, he's so good on the.
All right, once again, guys, 11-man personnel, empty back set. This is basic, simple stuff, guys. 3 receivers, a tight end, and a running back out there. They spread out the defense. Unfortunately, when you spread the defense out, what ended up happening on that play is they got pressure coming right up that A-gap. Now, Rodgers got a little too happy feet in the pocket there and really rushed and kind of rolled the pocket before he really needed to do that. And as a result of that, he missed kind of an opening quick hitch route to his slot receiver, which was Cobb. Cobb was open there. He could have easily gotten 5 or 6 yards there. Instead, he rolled the pocket and just kind of threw it out of bounds, threw it away out towards the running back. So, look, you've seen them where they're got a tight end in line. They got a tight end split to the top. They got, a tight end in the slot. They got them all over the place, guys. I mean, they have them all over the place here. They will hit you in a lot of different ways, and 11-man personnel. They will move their tight ends a lot. They will motion and use movement. And, this is the type of system you're going to see from McCarthy. This is what he likes to run. Now, I think there's one more play I want to show you guys because I think it's beautifully illustrated how McCarthy kind of manages his game plan. And I'm going to be honest with you. It was actually a pretty good play design. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not too sure all the problems that were going on that season weren't more on Aaron Rodgers than McCarthy's play calling, because when I'm watching film, I am seeing plays that are open. And to be real with you, Rodgers just doesn't make the read. Lots of motion. Lots and lots of motion, guys. So you can see they come out in a 2x2 set. Rodgers looks across at the defense, motions. I believe that was Adams he motioned. So, by the way, the motion's not done, so I'm going to take you through and let you see the next series of motions that occur.
Graham over.
This series of motion really allows Aaron Rodgers to diagnose what's going on with that Chicago defense. And look, it's important to have those built-in shifts like that, because when you're playing a team like Chicago, you do want to know, are they in that cover 2? Okay. What are they doing in that Chicago cover 6 they used to run? Like, you want to know those things, right? So you're trying to see what's going on. You're trying to get man zone concepts, figure out what's going on. And McCarthy will allow them to do that. They're going to do a lot of motioning underneath of him. So let's see how this play turns out, guys. I'm going to show you. He misses a read, a big read. So I'm going to show you that read right now. All right, guys. My closing thoughts on Mike McCarthy are simply this. Look, this is a guy who's going to have a very good team around him to work with. He's going to have a much better offensive line than he's had in the past. He's going to have a much more talented running back in Ezekiel Elliott to work with. Yeah, the receiving group, I don't know. That's going to be a little harder to gauge because we don't know if Amari Cooper will be back. Like there are some issues going on there in Dallas. But the other thing is, and I think this is the bigger topic, he's a new football coach, and you got Dak Prescott, who is not under contract. They can go in a different direction. If you're the coach, you're going to be tied to that quarterback's play. Is that the guy he wants to be tied to? I think that's a very interesting question here that is not being mentioned by anyone. I don't know. My instinct, he'll probably be okay with Dak. I wouldn't go on a limb and say I'm 100% certain, though. Now, in the end, what are my gut feelings about him? Look, he's a happy medium. He's an experienced football coach. He's a no-nonsense guy. Like, he's going to have the Cowboys much better prepared than Jason Garrett did to play in big games, especially on the road. And to be real with you, he's not a guy that's going to come in and be, too controversial for management. So Bill Belichick comes through that door, guys. I tell you right now, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are done. They will never have a say in anything football related. Shut the hell up, get the hell out of the building. That's the way he would approach it. You don't get a say. Go crunch numbers. You're not a football guy. He would tell them blatantly. I don't think Mike McCarthy is that guy. However, he is pretty good within the locker room for guys in terms of discipline. He's not going to let guys get away with shit. That part, I can reassure you, will happen. So he's that happy median. You're not going to get those top flight coaches because there's no way Jerry Jones and him are going to have the run of things. This gives Jerry to still have his say. He's getting a football guy, a guy that he probably would love to talk football with him all day. So there's that aspect to it. My understanding is he killed it in the interview. They really liked him in the interview. Now, I don't know. It's hard to project these things, guys. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered things. The one thing I can tell you is Mike McCarthy is not going to play this bullshit where Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones get to select his coaches. They will have to interview with him. So maybe he'll take underneath advisement the things that Jerry Jones says, but they will not be selecting his coaches. He won't put up with that shit. That was more of that bullshit that was going on with Jason Garrett. And to be real with you, I think you fired the wrong person. Jason Garrett was never a spectacular coach, but he wasn't your problem. Jerry Jones is your problem. You got a guy who doesn't know shit about football trying to be a coach, trying to be a GM. He's not that. Jerry Jones, I'll give him credit as an Eagle fan. He was an innovator when it comes to free agency and the contracts. Guys like Howie Roseman, who I think is exceptional at that, would not be, they wouldn't be in the picture without a guy like Jerry Jones kind of paving the way for that type of thing. I mean, Jerry Jones is as important to football as Al Davis was back in his time period. So, look, I'll give him props for that. He's not a guy that understands the X's and O's, though. He's fooling himself. He doesn't know shit. And that's your problem. That's your problem. I do think Mike McCarthy is a nice middle-of-the-ground guy where he's going to tell them, you're not picking my coaches, bro. Get the hell up out of here with that shit. That's not going down. You don't know enough to do that. But is he going to stop Jerry Jones from having his weekly TV shows and shit? No. No, I don't think he's going to give a damn about that. You've heard it said that they call him a CEO type. I like to call those type of football coaches. I like to call them basically like more so like they're like your store managers, if you will, meaning they will give their coordinators leadway to, make decisions. He will call the plays offensively, but he will let those guys, like he will devolve power to them. And the other thing you will see from Mike McCarthy is that you will notice, you can make an argument that maybe Rodgers was the person really moving and motioning and not necessarily McCarthy's system, but it's still McCarthy's system because McCarthy does devolve power to the quarterback. So Dak will have a lot more say-so over, motioning, making calls at the line. That's what McCarthy will do. So you will know a lot about Dak Prescott very soon if he's chosen to go forward. It will be because he can handle these types of responsibilities. And there's a whole series I can go into, guys, but you're going to find out about Dak being able to spot the mic, set protections, motion, get out of plays. You're going to see if he's really a field general. You're going to know that very, very soon. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here, man. Guys, I'm an Eagles fan. This is as best I can be as an unbiased, you know, viewpoint to this. I can't, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to be completely unbiased, guys. I'm an Eagles fan. But this is what I do know about Mike McCarthy. I've watched football since the 80s, guys. I'm very familiar with Mike McCarthy. I know his story. I've watched him come up through the league. And yeah, I mean, this is him, guys. This is him. All right, y'all. I'm about to jump out of here. For all you Cowboy fans, I hate to tell you this, but we close out our video a certain way. We do a little thing where we go E-A-E-L-E-S. Let's go, Eagles.